Hello, Deadlings. Welcome back to Exploring the Entity, where killers, survivors, and secrets collide. I'm your co host, Mark.
And Ducati. Today we're accompanied by a fellow deadling, Lando, and we're going to be having a chill campfire conversation about some burning questions about our own personal journeys and emotions about the game. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Lando to introduce himself.
I'm Lando, and thank you guys so much for letting me be part of this. Appreciate it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Of course. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with our first question. How did you first get into Dead by Daylight? And we're going to actually have our fellow guest start off with his answer.
Sure. For me, I'd always seen the OG Trapper poster for Dead by Daylight. Just when I would see events online or just driving around game stores, all that, because it's been around for a long time. Uh, I was always curious to see what the game was like, and it wasn't until they announced Ghostface when I eventually would download it and play it for the first time.
Alrighty, thank you. We're gonna go ahead and have co-host Mark.
Okay, I purchased the game probably 6 months before I actually started playing it. But I started playing it because one of my best friends since my childhood was going through my Steam library to see if there's anything we could play together, and he saw that I had Dead by Daylight, and he forced me to play it with him, which is fine because it turned into 900 hours of playing one video game.
Alrighty. For me, who's actually watching fellow co-host Mark play with said friend on his computer, I would just occasionally kind of look over and I'll be like, ooh, that kind of seems pretty interesting. I've never really been into video games before that. I mean, I was that typical person in the childhood who played PSP, but that's pretty much about it. So yeah, Dead by Daylight is my first official PC video game that really got me into playing games. Um, so yeah, that was my DVD journey. So our next question is, what is the scariest killer to face? And we're gonna have Lando take us off on that question.
I think it's safe to say that Myers might be the scariest to go up against, and it's really just it seems like most of the time players really know how to be creepy with him, especially when it's the start of the match and you're the first to find out and you turn around, bam, he's right there, or you turn a corner and he's right there, and he always seems to get me jump scared just all the time, consistently. In terms of like all the other killers, like you go up against them enough, and it's more like what makes them scary is like how good the player will be, but in terms of just baseline, I think Myers is always up there and giving me jump scares all the time.
On to me. Honestly, I feel like jump scare potential. I'm going Dredge. Every time I play against Dredge, they know the perfect times to teleport. It'll be pitch black and I can't see, then they'll just appear right in front of me. Plus, I mean, if you're a really good Dredge, you're kind of unbeatable. I mean, it's hard to win against a good Dredge who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna have to go with. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go with Dredge as well. In the sense of Dredge is usually the one killer that no matter how much paranoid looking around you're doing, you're usually more than likely, especially if you're on a gen, you're gonna get picked right off of it. Um, you know, yes, Myers definitely has a scare factor. Won't lie, he definitely does. But at least usually you can kind of see him a little easier um, compared to Dredge. Dredge usually just he pulls up on you. Alrighty, so our next question is, what are some of the most annoying perks in the game? Giving it over
No,
to
Ed.
Lando.
No, Ed. No one escapes death, for sure. In theory, if you're experienced, it's usually not a big deal. But the second I see that perk revealed, I just roll back in my chair every time. And usually, you can kind of tell when it's going to be a thing, like if the killer's being kind of a free killer where they're not really playing the game, they're kind of just letting you do your thing and get to that end game. end game killers just really tend to tick me off and rubs me the wrong way. So I guess just know it. It's kind of like a cop out, like, and you don't find out until the first survivor gets hit. More unfortunate if it's yourself, and just that's where I stand. At least all the other perks just usually make sense in a build, but like that one just stands out. Like ever since I very first started playing, I'll die on that hill. Just know it. I hate it.
And what's your most annoying survivor perk? I mean, I know you don't play a ton of killer, but what perk do you think would be the most annoying to you if you ever played killer?
If I played, so if it was a survivor perk that they were using, um, that's definitely changed over the years. Like I guess yeah, maybe it makes it a little difficult because I don't play killer too often. But if I were to take my own experience and what I think this is killers off that I do, I'd probably say like the Jill Valentine perk, Blast Mine. I think that would make me. I think that's just like a cherry on top. Like maybe you're losing a game really hard, like you're struggling, you're trying to keep up, and you just try to do your job as a killer, knock the gen down, try to get some more time, make the match go on longer, and you just get blown up in the face. That's I, I know that pisses people off.
Yeah, I mean, no one can argue with that one. I'm kind of into both sides, so as a killer player, I'd say my most annoying perk is just sprint burst because the people are just they're perfect at getting that sprint burst to just take them across the map by the time you're at the gen they're at, and once you get to the gen and kick it, they just come right back and then they hold their sprint burst again. As survivor, I would honestly I don't even see it that often, but whenever I do see it, I just genuinely get annoyed. It's probably no way out. I, it's similar to Lando's, but mine just feels like it's just purposefully making the game take longer, and I just don't like it.
End game killers. That it's always frustrating. I think.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta express, I do agree with both people on all of their choices, but for me, so annoying perk when I am playing killer, and actually kind of a, a side comment because it's very similar to a perk. When I am playing survivor in 2v8, sprint burst and just the whole concept of sprint burst, Jesus Christ, it is no, no. There, sprint burst should not be allowed. Personally, I never, when playing Survivor, have used sprint burst, and I will never use sprint burst. You, you're just showing you're so bad at the game that you have to put so much distance between you and the killer because you can't hold a loop. If you can't hold a loop, go learn how to loop. Don't use sprint burst. But anyways, on the survivor side, like having a killer use it against me, um, unpopular opinion a little bit, but I'm gonna actually go with Hex Ruin just because I am such a gen main that it hurts my feelings and my emotions when I work so hard on a gen and then a killer came and I'm in chase and then I come back to my gen and my gen is fully regressed because no one found Hex Ruin yet. So I would say annoying for me would be Hex Ruin. Not saying it's a bad perk. It's a very good perk. It's a great perk. But it's annoying for me as my gen main.
Let me just add that she herself runs Hex Rune. Just let me
That
add
is
that.
true. That is
Let me
true.
let me just add that.
That is true sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
A lot of the time.
Not all the time. I tend to run more aura. But anyways, our next question is, what is the worst feeling in DBD? Take us away, Lando.
Having the killer either close hatch on you in your face, or maybe having them carrying you to the gates and then killing you right there. making you think you're gonna get out. Yeah, that really irks me. Because they play around, they make you think, oh, you're gonna get out, and then they'll show you the hatch, and then you'll crawl to it, and then they'll just shut it in your face. That's so disrespectful.
I'm gonna have to go with getting just ultra tunneled just for the killer to be friendly with everyone else. They really wanted
Yeah.
that 1K, and they just decided you were the person they were choosing.
Yeah, for me, I actually have a couple of them. First of all, very big one is when you walk up to a locker because that person has been AFK for so long and the killer still whacks you and downs you. Like, bro, I'm literally telling you one of my teammates has chosen not to do anything all match. And you kill me instead of picking them out of the locker, letting me go away while you hook them, and then kind of go finding me and chasing me. For my second one, it's very similar to that. Lately, personally, I've had a lot of completing most of the objectives in the match, and then being the person to die on basically 0 hooks. So basically, let's say I complete 3 generators, and then we're at exit gate time. Everyone starts opening gates. I'm trying to protect because I'm on 0 hooks. I get killed, and then I get hooked, and then everyone just leaves me to die. It's like I basically, in a way, carried this match, and you all are letting me die on 0 hooks because I was trying to let you all survive. So, yeah, thoughts. The worst feelings for me on DVD. Our next question is, what is instantly tells you a match will go badly? Giving it off to Lando again.
If I hear tier 2 Myers in the first minute, I know it's gonna be a rough one. It's gonna be a rough one. That means someone's not paying attention and is just straight feeding Myers, and then they're just gonna, especially if it's Tombstone, and then they just grab you right away, and the match is over within a minute. Not very good feeling.
Yeah, part of me is glad that Tombstone's gone now. I mean, mostly.
Yeah, for those of you who know, you know. Those who
My
remember.
answer is gonna be when everyone spawns next to a gen and a person ends up blowing it right then and there. That's just the worst because, you're thinking, oh, we're going to get ahead, we're going to get a gen done, then Dum next to you blows it, and you're like, oh, okay. Good game.
For me, I would have to say this is going to be a bit of not just base DVD, but I'm going to say like 2v8 when you get people who just instantly start using the sprint burst options and everyone just like cuddles up on one side of the map. So then it's very easy for the killers to basically pick us off once we're getting towards endgame. Another thing for me would be just once we are in, like we just got into a match and you're just kind of sitting there and everything's going fine. It's very quiet. It's too quiet. Everyone is about halfway with their first gen, and bam, boom. Guess what? You all just got marked by Ghostface. Yeah. And there goes
I'll
all the
also
luck.
add I'll also add a pig. Yeah, if I see a jigsaw trap, I also kind of squeeze my butt cheeks a little. I don't like that. I don't want to have to work that hard.
Yeah.
Just makes the game go too long.
Yeah, no. I agree with that. Starting with pig traps on your head, definitely in
Oh
the
yeah,
way.
especially if they have that add-on.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. So next, what's the universal survivor language?
Teabagging, just fast crouching. That's usually what I do. I walk up to someone doing a gen, and maybe they heal me or I heal them, and then we both just kind of in unison, just both teabag a few quick times and immediately get back on the gen. I think that's a typical language everyone kind of does. You know, it's not an open mic game, so other than at the end of a match, if you're on PC, you can type in the chat. I think that's just what everyone does in game. You're either gonna do the emotes or just teabag as a survivor.
I usually either teabag to say hi or teabag to say bye. But I also use the emotes to when I'm talking to the killer. If I'm trying to tell the killer to like hook me or something, I'll point at them, then point at the hook.
When someone misses a skill check, I'll point at them for
Yeah, that
shame.
works too.
Yeah, that's a pretty good universal language too. For me, I personally feel like this is something that an okay amount of the community kind of understands, but the other half kind of doesn't. Is if one or more people are injured on a generator, you kind of get off the gen before completing it to heal each other. Because what's the point of completing a gen? It pops, you just told the killer exactly where you are, and then you start healing. So I would say that that could be a potential example of that. Yeah. Um. Next, what's the most disrespectful killer behavior?
Definitely the killer whacking you multiple times when you're on hook. For me, anyways, because that just kind of screams toxicity for me. Like, especially if maybe it's your first hook. Maybe they're angry at you, but still, it's like, it's my first hook, dude. Like, I'm not dead yet. Maybe I could, maybe my friends won't save me. Maybe I will die on this hook, but it shows that, like, you're mad and you're just, like, kind of salty about it. Like, just try to do your best. Don't, it just kind of shows your toxicity that you're butthurt or maybe they're egotistical.
Yeah, mine's semi similar to what you just said, except I feel like mine. I think the most disrespectful thing a killer can do is hook you in basement with a killer who's really good at getting like a double hit or something. A killer who can pretty much guarantee that even if you get unhooked, you're still gonna go back on that same hook no matter what. Like Springtrap, he'll just sit at the top of the stairs, throw the axe at you while you're coming up, and then grab the axe out of your bag as you come out of basement. It's incredibly stupid.
For me, it would be you're in the middle of chase with someone and then you see someone very close to said chase who is not going for a flashy save, so then you completely reorient your chase to targeting this person, which is usually like they're just on a dough totem or they're on a generator. Just commit to the chase you're currently in. Don't come bother me because I am doing one of the objectives of the game. While yes, it is your job to stop us from completing said objectives, we are all here to play a game, and I'm sure you wouldn't like that to be done to you if you were playing on the survivor side. Um, Another kind of disrespectful behavior that I would say is people who main killer who have played very little survivor and then turns around and shit talks said survivors. If you have the skills to prove it, fine. Go ahead and say what you gotta say. But if you open this game and you've never touched survivor once, please be quiet. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Next question. What's the funniest thing random teammates do?
I think it's funny when I see someone clearly miss a flashlight blind, but they still hold it up to the killer's face only to see them get down. And they do that funny ass flip when they get smacked. I love witnessing that. It's the funniest thing because it's like, well, I understand maybe they don't understand how flashlights work, or maybe they think, oh, maybe an extra second and they will be blinded, but it never really ends up doing what they intended it to do, and it just bites them in the ass, and it's so funny seeing that. You just kind of it separates. It kind of immediately marks them as like, oh, this guy like is kind of new, or maybe he's just that bad at using flashlights.
I would honestly say I would say the funniest thing random teammates do is when they actually like play like you're in a full four-man swift out of nowhere. They can be the worst teammate all game, and then out of nowhere, they become the body block king. It's amazing. It's rare, very rare. But when it happens, it's a gold mine.
For me, the funniest thing random teammates do is when you're just working on a generator and they come up right behind you and they start doing the like come here motion and they're not injured. Like, I understand if you're calling me over because you're injured, I will stop what I'm doing and I will heal you. But you're just blocking my way. And you're kind of just honestly pissing me off because you're distracting me from A, looking at my screen to see skill checks, and B, you're distracting me from paying attention to my surroundings. So, like, it's funny, but please don't do that. Next, we have what screams solo queue experience?
For me, being the only one being a team player, and you're doing gens, you're taking hits, you're unhooking, and no one else is contributing, and you'll die. Like you had brought it up earlier, you die first hook because no one else is saving you. All that work was for nothing, and being the first to die, that's also pretty close second. Being the first to die like really quickly, and it's like not because you were like particularly bad, it's just because your other teammates were bad. They didn't want to save you. They're just not paying attention. That always screams solo queue for me. The experience.
I've got to come out and say it. One random person letting all three teammates die on hook so that they can try for hatch and still die anyways. It's
Yeah.
very funny. And they always have something to say in endgame chat when they do it. They try to act like they were so much better than you, but all they did was let three teammates on zero hooks die just to lose the game.
Hmm.
So I'm actually going to add to that because that is very funny coming up. Potentially, if you all would wish, I believe on my YouTube channel, I did upload a video where all three of us were in a match with a solo queue survivor who let us die to a clown. We basically, like, the match was going fine, and this person just completely let all three of us die. And I'm pretty sure literally none of us had sustained a single hook state yet. So, yeah, I gotta very much so agree with that one. But for me, what I would say is when they hid in the corner, not doing anything, or just like opening random chest, or just working on random totems, not hex totems, not boon totems, just regular good old fashioned dough totems. And then they're in a chase and they bring the killer to you. And then following that up, they then get mad and start teabagging you when the killer ends your chase and they come up to you and they start teabagging because you got hooked. That just screams, hey, I am not a team player and I am purely here for myself. But anyways, next question. This one is probably gonna arise some controversial opinions. Is tunneling ever justified?
Well, for me, it's when it's the only thing that the killer's doing, it becomes toxic. When it's like the only tactic that they're doing, it's going to rub people the wrong way. Like obviously, it's a legitimate method to guarantee a down. There is that side of it. But there's always so much more that you could be doing to gain points and get practice. And I think so many people forget playing killer doesn't always mean you need a 4K to quote unquote win. Just playing the game and doing your best and trying to do everything you can as much as possible to again just go for the iridescence will just make you a better killer. You don't have to like you're not going to climb the ranks just by tunneling people. It's better to let people go and do things that are actually helping you in the long term. You can if you're spending 3 minutes chasing one survivor because you're trying to tunnel them, and it's not working, like you're wasting time. Everyone like you'll probably notice gens are popping off, and then at the end of the day, all the survivors leave. You only got one kill, and you were just trying to tunnel the whole time, and like now you look like very silly, and it's just not a good method to keep practicing. I've seen it be utilized in a good way. Just try to get one person out of the game. Maybe they're already being toxic. Maybe they're running a build that's directly countering yours. Maybe that's could be argued, but just I think it's better overall just to just try to get everything done. That you get the most blood points that way, and you become a better killer. And people won't be as annoyed with you. People won't report you. People won't be toxic against you. You'll have a better experience, and it's a win-win for both.
I personally think that, yeah, tunneling is justified in certain circumstances. Like Lando just said, wasting your entire match just trying to kill one survivor won't get you any points. I mean, we've all had those games where that one survivor just has to die. Doesn't matter if you win or lose the game, that one person has to die. But when you're trying to raise your MMR on a killer, sometimes you do need to you feel the pressure and you need to get one person out of the game as early as you can, because that'll just set you up to hopefully get the 4K. If it just depends on how good of a player you are, because if you're not, I'd say, high skilled enough, tunneling just won't work for you. You'll try to kill that one survivor and they'll just, like he said, run you the entire game, and yeah, you'll get your one kill, but you won't get the 4K. If you're smart about it, I'd say it's justified. If you're openly just trying to kill one person, nah. It's just dumb.
For me, I'm answering this question with it depends on the situation, like everyone else has answered. If this person is just being a horrible teammate and everyone else collectively is in agreement of please kill them now, please tunnel them, then yes, it is wholeheartedly justified, because it is not fair for 3 other survivors to suffer because one person is being a prick, to be fully honest. So in those situations, I say tunneling is 110% justified. In other situations where, say you're tunneling because you came in, this was the first person you encountered, you hook them, and then you hear they got on hook, and you go back and you hook them again. You're just being toxic. You're not being very nice. You should not be playing killer. Because you wouldn't like that to be done to you if you were playing Survivor. So in that kind of situation, I do not feel like it is justified. But in the situation of like the whole group kind of collectively agrees this person needs to go because they're not being an asset, then yeah, I would say tunneling is justified.
Yeah, I also think, just to quickly wrap it up on that, just I think that some people might take tunneling too serious, and I mean on the survivor side. I do kind of see consistently, like, it could just be chance that you're the next person that they encounter. It could also determine, like, if you're sticking around in the same area and you had just got hooked, maybe you didn't like get to a better tactical position and you're getting encountered the killer again, that could come off as tunneling. So I do think because tunneling was just a natural thing that people just are so negatively against, I think it has given it a bad rap. There are situations where I think people mistake tunneling right away just because you just so happen to be the first person that they encounter.
I totally agree with that exact viewpoint, because that has happened to me personally when playing killer. If you keep coming in front of me, if you keep running into me, I'm going to let you off once or twice. But bro, if you keep walking into me, that's on you.
Yeah.
Especially because I personally do not tend to run like undetectable perks, and I do not tend to run stealth killers. So you heard my tear radius far far ahead of time. You should have known to duck in a bush or something like that. If you run up in front of me, I'm sorry. That was on you. But, anyways, our next question is solo queue harder than killer?
In my opinion, I don't believe so. No matter what, there will always be more pressure as a killer. It's a 1v4, and there's always the competition of wanting to perform well and to get kills. And when you play Survivor, sure, there's always the unfortunate risk of having bad teammates, but at the end of the day, you have a team. And depending on how you look at it, teammates, even the bad ones, are distraction for the killer.
I personally, I believe it's all a matter of MMRs on both sides. If you're in solo queue and pretty high MMR on Survivor, then it's gonna be rough because you have no comms, you can't talk to your teammates. You just have to hope that they're not rude and actually help you. I personally have experienced many survivors who just, if you get hooked first in like Eerie 1 solo queue lobbies, you just die. So you really have to make sure that you don't die first, because it just usually ends with you dying. And killer, I mean, it just depends. I mean, if you're playing in average 13 to 1400 MMR, I mean, I feel like that's easier than high MMR solo queue, but I've personally played solo queue in both low and high MMR, and low MMR solo queue is just free. You can't even lose. So, I mean, it really depends on where you are personally in your journey of playing Dead by Daylight as a whole.
For me, I personally feel like no, it is not harder than killer, because at the end of the day, as there is 4 survivors and you all are dividing 5 generators and 2 exit gates amongst each other, while killers have this pressure of, okay, I need to chase enough, I need to hunt enough, I need to kick enough generators, I need to keep people off of exit gates. I just personally think that there's way more like of a checklist and way more things you have to be mentally aware of all the time as a killer compared to a survivor.
Yeah, there's a lot more at stake for sure.
Yeah, there's this thing of like, okay, I went in, I need to remember like, especially before the feature where you could see how many times you hooked a survivor, you had to be on top of that mentally. You had to be on top of like, okay, which of my perks are activated right now because that can make or break my match. I have to be mentally aware of, okay, this survivor has decisive, this survivor has dead hard, this survivor has sprint burst, and there's just so much logically that goes into playing a killer match, whether or not you are new to said killer. This your first match on a brand new killer can make or break your MMR on said killer. So there's just so much that goes into playing killer. So personally, I do not agree that solo queue is harder than killer. Alright, next we are heading to a personally one of my favorite questions that are asked in this, and it is best licensed chapter.
I think it's Resident Evil. That's just for me. Mostly for the maps and just the amount of content they both had, in their both of their released events. Because they had the first role of, you know, Jill and um, Leon with um, Nemesis, and then they came back with the second one, and then we had Whiskers. So I genuinely love them. And maybe it's a little biased because I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil and I love those games, but you have to admit, both of those killers are still really cool, regardless if you're playing them or you're going up against them. I love that there's zombies when you played against Nemesis. I think there is a skill set that you need to acquire and practice when you play as Wesker. Um, and just it's always fun for me. Like there's so much content that comes with it. They have all these license chapters and all that, and sometimes there's only a few skins, and sometimes they don't get enough love. They make a skin for a whole bunch of other people, but not this. But like that, the content is very massive. I love being able to queue up with your friends with a full set of Resident Evil skins. You can do multiple different kinds, and I think I almost said Stranger Things because it's kind of similar, where there was two different release chapters for them, and there's two killers as well. They both played it very differently, and I almost said that because obviously in the world there are more fans for Stranger Things than Resident Evil. Not everyone plays horror games. Not everyone plays video games. But Stranger Things, like you can admit that people probably hopped on the Dead by Daylight at some point just because they love Stranger Things. And I think they both fit the aesthetic very well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna partially agree by also being a little biased. I'm going to answer with Stranger Things purely because I started shortly before Stranger Things came out, and I must say I have to be one of the first people who purchased it. I mean, I wasn't playing nearly as much as I am now, but I saw it on like the Steam page and I bought it the day it came out, and then proceeded to never play the game until my friend showed it to me. But I did find out years later that the Stranger Things like entirety of it was just like rare. You couldn't obtain Steve, Nancy, or Demogorgon anymore. And I felt so cool knowing that I had all of them. But I don't know. I'm a little biased just because it's around when I started, and I just thought it was a really cool addition at the time.
Yeah, so for me, I actually kind of have to answer this question with multiple answers because best license chapter, I have different opinions and like different categories for that. Best license chapter because of the character themselves and who they are, not because of actual like the actual power or anything like that. I have to go with Ghostface. I grew up on Ghostface. He was one of my favorite like horror genre kind of characters. So I'm gonna answer first with Ghostface because he's just a classic. My other answer is more focused on 2v8 game mode. Every single time I play 2v8, I play as Nemi. Nemi is my killer for 2v8 forever and always. So I have to go with Resident Evil on that side. And it's super fun because usually co-host Mark plays Wesker. So we do the whole like dual kind of Resident Evil thing. And then overall, just for the amount of characters and all that, I have to answer like everyone else. Stranger Things. So this is kind of funny because when we heard that Vecna and Dustin and Eleven were being brought into the game, I finally submitted to watching Stranger Things for the first time. So it wasn't until they were announced to be part of Dead by Daylight that I had literally just never watched a single minute of Stranger Things. And I actually really like the show. And I really like the character. And personally, I love playing Vecna. He is so fun. He has so many different options of ways to play him, but he's not like too complicated. He's not like blight hard, but then he's not as basic as like Trapper. So I think there's just so much, and I really really love the cool mechanics that they introduced to the game by bringing Vecna in. So yeah, those are my answers for that one. Our next question is, what's your biggest DPD hot take?
Okay, so I mean, again, this is just my opinion. It's always subject to change. What was that? Oh, well, my bad. Okay, and then this is just my opinion, but I think the game will never feel complete or fair for both sides, and that's my hot take. And I don't mean incomplete as in content, but matchmaking, bugs, hot fixes, balance changes, they're always going to be part of this game. And maybe some of you might agree it gives the game more life and longevity with, constantly changing the meta. But with the game constantly changing, there's always going to be backlash, frustration to the game being dubbed, killer or survivor sided, which adds a certain level of toxicity, in my opinion. I mean, I think we can all agree that the devs are consistently making questionable decisions when it comes to the service for the game. And I think that's always just going to be part of it. And that's just my biggest hot take because it makes me. I've been playing this game since like Ghostface came out. That's when I first played the game, and I've had a very love-hate relationship with this game. I think a lot of people can agree with that. And most of it is due to matchmaking, bugs, and the game constantly changes. And I'm not, you know, against change and rolling out different metas. I'm not against that. It's just it's never going to feel like it's ever going to be perfectly balanced. And it's just with live service games like this, especially something as huge as this, there are a couple other examples for games that it's because it's Howie has that in the back of my head. I just sometimes I have good days, sometimes I have bad days, and like sometimes I'm really into it, sometimes I'm not. It just kind of depends on what the meta is and how many changes they've done, and there's always going to be like that one killer survivor sided, and I don't think it's either or, but there's like that community division. Everyone kind of has that argument all the time, and that's my biggest take. I think like it's just I don't like that it's not going to be any different. I would hope that one day I'd log on and play it continuously. It's just I think most people continue to play just because they do genuinely love it so much. But like sometimes I just can't get past the toxicity. I can't get past like the bugs and just taking advantage of certain things and just you'll never change people. I mean, they'll play. They like to play the game the way they like to play the game, and sometimes that's just being a dickhead, and you can't change that.
I would say my biggest hot take is just honestly, to some degree, how kind of whiny the community can be sometimes. They'll be literally blowing up behavior on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere they can. They'll be putting them on full blast to do something, to fix a specific thing. And then when they do fix it, they'll still be mad. Or they'll be asking for a specific character or license for years. And when they finally get it, they have something to say about it. I mean, look at Springtrap. Yes, he wasn't exactly what everyone expected. But I mean, you can still play as Springtrap in a video game where you get to actually play as the character. There's no video games other than this one that really let you do that. But
Yeah,
he was
that's what I
very
was saying. Like everyone's just going to think that it's killer or survivor sided. They'll wait so long for a character to come in the game, and they'll be like, yeah, but now his power's too strong, and I can't be toxic anymore. It's like there's always going to be complaining, and that's my big take. I
yeah. I
agree
mean,
with that.
when Springtrap came out, everyone just immediately started shitting all over him, saying, "Oh, it's just a Huntress remake." And it really wasn't. Or look at Kaneki. I mean, I know he's still a little broken, but at this moment, I'd say he's far more fair than he was when he came out. And you don't really see him, but everyone really wanted to see Tokyo Ghoul, and when they got him, all they did was literally clown all over behavior on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. And I just find that a little bit whiny. It's a little annoying.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with everything that was just said, but I'm gonna bring another idea into the mix, which is yes, I love having so many cool things. I love the fact that there is such a great selection of array of characters to play on both sides, but I feel like we're not doing justice to previous characters and previous things in the game. It is kind of crazy how we're about to hit 10th anniversary and we're still dealing with bugs from Nurse. We're still dealing with Mastermind being able to go through palettes kind of bugs. We're dealing with Hag, one of the like basically one of the founders of the game. She's not played. She's never looked at because she's so basic and she can be countered so quickly, so easily. Like, yes, it is so cool to have these licenses, and I will never be against the licenses we have. I'm very grateful for that. But this game also needs to remember its original origins. It needs to remember that it has other people besides these licenses. You can see it. We had Karasu come out. Some people didn't like her. She's kind of buggy at times. So she's been thrown aside, and we're just kind of working on what's the next chapter, what's the next license. That's not the end all be all. Also, on that side, yes, I understand. We're trying to do so much, and I understand that the devs and everyone at Dead by Daylight works so hard, so tirelessly. Game developing is one of the trickiest, most complex kind of things because you do one simple thing and somehow you broke 7 other things that should not have broken because you did that one thing. I understand how hard they work to do this for us, especially being on the smaller side and not being like Fortnite big and not having that many developers and creators and all that. But we should give more time to the things we've already introduced to the game. We had lunar events happen for like 2 years. They've never happened again. We just get like a banner or some blood points. It's just like a thing in passing. We have 2v8 and Chaos Shuffle. Cool game modes, cool modifiers, super interesting. But we had My Little Oni. We had Lights Out. I came in after those were available, so I never got to see them. And that's disappointing. That's sad because so many people are constantly talking about, oh my god, these things were so cool. They were so interesting. I would love to see these again. And then because I wasn't playing at a certain time, I can't enjoy those as well. That's my biggest thing is, yes, let's try to grow and let's try to see into the future. But part of the future is fixing our current mistakes and kind of growing on them. So I'm going to give them a round of applause for updating their all-kill combat. That was super great. Trickster needed an update. I just really hope that we see this continuously happening for a good majority of the rest of them. And my other hot take on that topic, it kind of like goes with that, is I am sick and tired of playing on the same 5 maps. There are so many maps. Can I please get an equal opportunity of being put on every single one of those maps? I don't want to play the same 3 maps. And the worst part is, the usual maps you get on 1v4 are the same exact maps you play in 2v8. So you can't even escape them in a different game mode. So, yeah. Our next question is, what killer do people pretend they like playing against?
So I want to say, I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. I think Huntress. Now, she's one of the killers that a lot of beginners pick up, but has also been around for a long time. One of the first killers to come out. And it's a long time for players to practice her since her toolkit's very easy to learn. So it's good, beginner friendly. It's been around for a long time. And because of this, it seems like most of your interactions are going to be either just funny, it's someone trying to learn the game, no problem with that, or it's just straight pain. There are those players who have thousands and thousands of hours with Huntress and just one-shot you from across the map. Iridescent head. It's just, she is a really cool, she has that aura, that lullaby that's really cool. I love, it's a very interesting, very cool original character they created. And you see a lot of her. And, I feel like people they like it. I think there's too much of an opportunity where people are learning her and they're not that good. They miss a lot. Um, but you do have those matches where you get it's real obvious once you growing up against someone who can just straight snipe you. And I feel like it's not enough for people to say, yeah, yeah, I hate Huntress. I feel like people just she's overhyped, and I think we gotta address the issue, man. I know there's plenty of other killers to bring up. You know, maybe a nurse. Nurse has a lot of the same experience. You're either gonna have someone who's the most cracked player you've ever seen play nurse, or someone's gonna miss every single blink and not get a single kill.
Honestly, you can't tell me you don't love playing against a pickup demon of a huntress who just picks up on every single pallet ever. To the
Yeah,
point where you can loop them on one loop for straight up the entire match. Because they just completely refuse to either take the pallets done or they just really want the free hit from you dropping the pallet. I can never tell which. I just know that the second I realize that they do that, I just keep running. But
yeah.
my choice, I'm honestly going with Bubba. Everyone that you ever see
Oh,
play against Bubba, they're always like exclaiming about how much that Bubba is their favorite killer ever and that they love him. And then they realize it's a Bubba who doesn't suck, and then they get toxic or they get mad. It's just I genuinely think that Bubba is just one of those killers that everyone thinks they want to play against them, and then they play against them, and they die, and they get very mad at it, and they think Bubba's a crutch or something. But I don't know. I just find it funny that
one shot
so many,
killers.
yeah, they get so excited. They'll literally scream to the heavens that they're finally playing against a Bubba, and then they find out that it's a good player, and immediately they're just mad about it.
And that basically just explained Epidemi's entire existence playing Bubba to a T. Poor guy. Anyways, what killer do people pretend they like to like playing against? I would have to answer that question with Spirit. A lot of people are like, oh, look, it's a cool Spirit. Spirit has so many cool skins. She's difficult, but not very difficult. Everyone's like, oh, it's okay. It's a Spirit. I'm not that worried. And then she pulls up on you about a
Wedgie,
thousand times.
wedgie time.
Yep. And you're like, I hate my life. I hate that I'm in this match. I hate everything. So yeah, that is my answer for that question. The next question we have is which map should be deleted?
Now you can argue any map. For me, I don't know why this spoke out to me, and I'll mention a couple maps. Keep it simple though. I said Decimated Borgo. Now I only said that because for me it just feels smaller than it is. I don't know what it is. It feels open as well at the same time. It's hard to explain, but it's like there's the loops for me. I've never been that well. I don't think I've ever survived on Borgo. It even though I know it is bigger than what I'm thinking in my head, but it just feels smaller. It feels like anytime I get into a chase, I'm not surviving for that long. I know that I could get better, and maybe I haven't played Borgo enough, but I wanted to say like do the cop out answer. I think a lot of people would say like RPD. A lot of people are against RPD a lot, and but I think over time it's gotten more easy to just know that the killer's on your side of the map or not. And I do think there are a lot of god palettes on that map, and it's easier to get away. I mean, especially I just played a lot of Dead by Daylight, and I know that map like the back of my hand. I also love the Resident Evil games. I mean, that doesn't really tell you much. It's not the same map by any means, but it's still I still think it's easier to get away. Like you have many tools in there. I typically survive on those maps. I know it's a upstairs downstairs map, two stories. It's a very big map, sharp corners, very certain areas of the map. It's more condensed. I've just learned to deal with it. Maybe it's another biased opinion because I love Resident Evil so much, but Borgo just I don't know. It just there's not. It's just one color palette. It's just that orange color palette, and I don't survive that much on that map. I don't know what it is. It really screamed to me. I remember when I think it was night that it came out with, right? I'm pretty sure it was night. And just ever since then, I never see that map, and when I do, it's just never a good time.
I have to 100% agree. I genuinely despise Decimated Borgo. I genuinely cannot think of a worse map in this game. Because for some reason, I get Decimated Borgo an obscenely large amount. I get it at least multiple times a day when there's 20 other maps at least in the game that I could be playing on, but I get Decimated Borgo. And it's one of the only maps in the entire game that I genuinely feel is just firmly killer sided. Like I've maybe won a few times on Decimated Borgo. It just feels like a map that you just lose on. I mean, we could change the answer to what instantly tells you a match will go badly. You spawn in
Yeah.
on Borgo.
Yeah. Am I crazy though? Like,
Genuinely.
does it feel like it's small but not, but like open at the
It's
same
because
time?
half the map is downstairs and there's only like one generator downstairs, so there's no reason to go down there. But yet, that one gen always ends up part of the 3 gen, which makes the killer have a 2 gen because no one wants to go downstairs.
There's like what, one upstairs building where there's like always a gen. I just
No,
feel like
no,
the
no,
gens
no,
are
no.
always in the same spot. I know there's
It's
probably
the
more
one
buildings.
that has like the castle in the middle and the stairs that go downstairs into like
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
dungeon looking area. There's like one generator down there. No, there's 2. One in the library, one in the like jail cell area. But they're both terrible spawn locations for a gen because both of them have a spot where the killer can come from within feet of you, and there's not much you can do about it. It's just there's so many areas on this map that are just wide open that if the killer is not spinnable, you're just gonna die. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
if it's a knight or a huntress or maybe a
Yeah,
death slinger,
you're
yeah, it's
done for.
GG. It's GG.
I absolutely love this answer from both of you. Um, I'm gonna be. I'm not gonna side on that. I'm actually siding on which should be deleted. All of them and none of them. I can't personally say I have like full 110% hatred for a specific map compared to like how I feel about certain survivors and certain killers. But I do feel like every map needs to be reworked in some way, for sure. There's no question about that. There are too many there's too many deciding factors on each map that can make the game kind of be a loss or a win on either side. Because exactly like they said on Borgo, there's a there's a gen downstairs that can be either really detrimental to the killer or to the survivor. It can go either way. So I feel like some maps just need to be fixed, especially you see this very big on like the game. Um, there's it's too many like god palettes, so and it's very survivor sided. While on the other side, you have like the new trickster map, super cool, looks so good. They did such a good job visually, but in practice, when it comes down to chase, it's You know what I
Maybe
mean?
Jigsaw map. The fact that you have certain paths that are completely blocked off, which means like maybe you can't save your friend because you didn't do that gen yet. Oh, that gets on my nerves too.
Yeah.
Maybe that maybe if the gens didn't, I like the aesthetic of that map and the like it's not hard to go up and downstairs, but like the fact that you have to do a gen to like open an area that can be annoying because like maybe your friend's on the other side of that door and they had no choice in it. They were running from the killer, they got downed, and now you have to go all the way around, and then it's just there's not enough time to try to save them or to
Yeah.
take a hit or something, and like that there's definitely like I agree with you. There's definitely each map has its downfalls. Each map has its pros and cons. And I think like there should be a better way of randomizing the map. Not just like in terms of assets in the map, like the tiles and everything. Like that is pretty hard to make completely random, but like I think there should be a better way of getting onto a map from the pool. I think that has to be a focus they need to do on, because it does seem like you do play the same few maps every time you play, especially if you play all the time. It's not so bad if you play every once in a while, because you might see a map you haven't played in a long time. But like, yeah, I mean, they after destroying map offerings, like you can't really. The pool just seems so small. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of variety in terms of where you're going.
Nah, man, we got that Spotify playlist shuffle going on these maps. Play the same like 10 maps. The rest of them are completely unheard of because, you know, apparently those are the top 10 favorite ones.
Yeah, I just feel like there's just
Hit rates and all that.
like all maps, they are in their own way very aesthetically pleasing. There are such cool concepts. It's really cool to see all these maps be brought to life, but the the like practicality of it on either side, it's just so, it could be either so boring or so heavy or too much time consuming, and so I don't feel like let's delete a map. I feel like we saw earlier this year with the whole complete rework of the Auto Haven realm. They did a really good job at actually reworking each of those maps. Those maps feel balanced, well, as close to balance as you can have in a game like this. No matter which killer you're running or what the survivors are running as their builds, they did a, in my personal opinion, they did a really good job with that, especially allowing us to see that before it was fully integrated into um, the thing. So I feel like we just need more versions of that happening. And before currently, I actually probably would have answered this question with the Myers map just from how small it was. So kind of like that license being removed kind of solved that problem in a way. I'm not sure if other people agree with that feeling or emotions.
Ironically, about Autohaven, I think I've only gotten that map maybe 1 or 2 times in the last 200 hours of my playtime, most of which being Survivor. I think I've only done it 2, 3 times since that update. Because I've put in at least 200 hours since they did the complete fix. I have gotten the map maybe 2 or 3 times in total.
Anyways, on to our last question of the day. What perk or perks I'm gonna actually add do you refuse to remove from your build? And I am gonna ask that we give both a killer answer and a survivor answer if possible.
Well, I think you guys can guess my two main survivor perks: Resurgence, and I like Babysitter. And say what you will about these perks, but something that I jotted down in my notes just to really sell the point on why I like Resurgence so much is I love the value of having half your healing bar filled after being unhooked, which is just a win no matter what. If you're unhooked safe, you're healed pretty much instantly, or you can get, if maybe it's an unsafe hook and you have to run away, you can just find a med kit. I usually run with med kit so I can just heal myself. So it's a win-win, and with the game being out for so long and the wide variety of new perks to use and solo queuing, I think people tend to skip out on like healing perks for other survivors. They'd rather just help themselves so they could better survive a chase. So, I don't mind giving up the one slot, like perhaps for just for myself, just to like have a better chance. I think that's better for survivability to be healed quicker when I'm off hook. I think I've played enough times where I can survive chase enough. I like being altruistic, so babysitter comes in that mix. I like they've changed it a few times, but I think how it works now is like you still get protection hit and they get like some haste. I also see the killer, so that gives me information. It's just all around like those are just my two favorite survivor perks. Now I don't have too many hours on killer, but from my experience, a little bit because when I did play killer, I liked playing Ghostface. I liked playing Legion back when it was cool and not seen as a obscenity. Um, I typically would probably not go into a match without I'm all ears. That was my favorite perk. That I think is really good because I am not the best at looping, maybe as a killer per se. Kind of depends on which killer I'm playing and which power I have and perk setup. But I think I'm all ears is my favorite because fast actions happen all the time. I know it goes on cooldown, but I like getting that info. I think it's pretty. It's very valuable to me at least.
All right. On Survivor, this may sound actually, honestly, both Survivor and Killer may sound very crutchy, but on Survivor, it's definitely just gonna be decisive and dead hard. For at least the last hundred of hours, I have not removed those two perks from my Survivor build ever. I have constantly edited the other two in the build, but those two have just they've been there the whole time. I just enjoy those perks. I try not to abuse them if possible because, it's really annoying as a killer player to just have a decisive strike player come running into your face just to force you to do it.
At least it made it harder. It's not so easy like before, but
Yeah,
still,
exactly.
I get your point.
I
Some
just
people
use
don't
it
really don't like.
if I'm like genuinely getting tunneled. It's very helpful. And it's just kind of funny to see the killer try to be toxic after they tunneled you and then they pick you up and you're off the shoulder anyways. And on killer, I'm gonna have to go with friends till the end and lethal pursuer. Those two perks are on every single killer build I ever play. I don't care if it's crutch. I just like having that information. I enjoy being able to see people across the map. It's basically I'm basically running barbecue and chili because I almost never ever get any value out of the exposed from friends till the end. It's mostly just aura reveal. It allows me to keep the pressure going as I'm hooking players. And I mean, obviously, there's the downside of if you don't hook anyone, they don't do anything.
So for me, on the Survivor side, everyone here knows, and I will probably keep this perk on my build to the day I die. Deja vu. Just, oh my god, this is such a great simple perk.
I mean,
You
it's
can
all in your name, Gen
you
Queen.
you literally cannot go wrong with this perk. There is literally no downside to putting on this perk. You you have so much from a base kit perk, which is honestly surprising. You get free extra speed boost. You get a free information of where gens are. And honestly, the biggest way, especially as someone who usually goes into a match and ends up doing a majority of the gens, it's very helpful to prevent 3 gens like crazy. It really helps on that. So I personally feel like Deja Vu has to be one of my all-time faves on Survivor side. Lately, which is the amount of hours I've had and just my honest track record being on DVD, I've changed my other 3 perks on Survivor quite frequently. So I don't have another one. I have some that I've played more than others, but they're Deja Vu just I don't think they'll ever leave. On the killer side, I have to go with one that probably is played very little, and that's kind of crazy how little it's played, and it's Infectious Fright from the Plague. Um, Once you put someone into the dying state, if someone's in your terror radius, it will scream and reveal their location. This is so good at giving you constant information nonstop, and you're usually always downing people, so why not have it? So I love that. And my second one is one that I'm sure people are tending to forget. I don't think it made as much headway as the other 2 perks from this killer, but it is Turn Back the Clock. I got into the side of killer starting right off with completing my adepts. And no shot, the amount of times that I had to redo certain adepts were just from the lack of caking generators. Because again, you have to have perfect score to get an adept on killer now. if I could have put turn back the clock on all of those adepts, I would have gotten them done more than likely first, second try max. So I really, really, really love that perk. So yeah. Um, does anyone have any other like really big thing that they just kind of want to talk about or they feel just as a whole in the game?
I gotta add something a little funny here. She really ain't lying about that deja vu addiction. She literally has a list on her desk detailing which characters have and do not have deja vu and what level they have it at. And she will literally avoid the characters who do not have it. She is literally addicted to that perk.
I mean, it's all in the gamer tag too, Gen Queen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my like perks that I refuse to remove, they're both on a they're both prestige 3, so I have them on every character. She has that list purely because some of her characters still don't have it.
It's not my fault that it's a base kit and not belonging to an actual character, so I have to individually go get them. Jeez. Wow. Okay. Well, if anyone else has any other kind of like comment or thing they kind of want to go back on after hearing everyone else's answer, anything like that, I'm kind of opening the floor to those right now. If not, we can go ahead and end this lovely chat. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I mean, maybe my last point is I hope to see more skins. I hope to see better skins. Now, say what you will about, I know how hard they work over at Behavior. Just for the last couple, like little season passes you can buy there, some of the skins are really cool, some of them are not. And I'm not just talking about those, but they have all these skins they have in the shop that aren't part of a season pass or anything like that. And it's just like, why? And why are some characters getting quadrillion amount of skins when others could be getting cool skins too? There's plenty of other mains, that just don't get enough love. And another, I wanted to also go back on the map thing. I hope to see more events just return or maybe some more original. There's so much more they could do. And like just changing the aesthetic in some areas of the maps, or maybe just like they work hard like on Halloween events. Got pumpkins everywhere, but it's just pumpkins. You can't like make the map a little darker, maybe a different color, give like just I don't know. I feel like they just lack a little creativity. Maybe they're getting tired, but I feel like they don't work as hard. And I'm just like some skins they come out with, and I'm just like, why would you even come out with that? It looks a little silly. Anyways, well, I think that's all from me.
Alrighty. And thank you for being a part of this and all answering all of our questions and just being
Yeah.
great about it.
Of course, I
Just
really
wanted to
appreciate you inviting me here, and it's been an amazing conversation. I love Dead by Daylight, love my friends. It's been great. Thank you again.
Yeah, of course. And we just wanted to thank all of you for joining us here at Exploring the Entity. Follow us on Instagram at Exploring the Entity and check us out on the visual side on YouTube at Exploring the Entity DBD.
Make sure that once you finish this episode that you give us a follow on Spotify or whichever platform that you listen to us on, and make sure to go check out our new website. There is going to be a lot of cool new things dropping on our website here, hopefully by the end of the month max. Until next time, Deadlings, keep your eyes on the shadows, listen for the claws, because the fog doesn't just surround you, it waits for you.